Good evening, everybody. This is Karen Stafford with Dr. Stafford's Musical Cures. My discussion today basically has to do with something that you might want to be doing while you're stuck at home. And that is retaining your own musicianship. When we become teachers, especially music teachers, we tend to forget why we got into music in the first place. What was that passion that you had that made you want to get into music? And if you're on here and if you want to leave comments, please do. I see a couple of people here. But what was it about music that made you want to go into it? And then when you got into college, you spent all that time in the practice room. For me, it was the feeling of being included in band. It was the feeling of family with the band all the way through college. So I would spend 4 hours or more in the practice room. It was a little competitive too, but there was just something that fed my soul with music. Then, when we got to teaching, all of a sudden, things just. Hi, Alyssa. Things just went different. All of a sudden, I had to do lesson plans. And I had to go to meetings, and I was giving private lessons, helping students to develop their musicianship, but I let my own musicianship sink. If you were in the same boat, please cyberly raise your hand, or you can put the little hand emoji, emoticon, or whatever, because we tend to forget what it was like to be our own musician and to feed that need. I started thinking about that as I would see what people were doing while they were stuck inside the house. Some people were exploring new instruments and some people didn't. So let me give you some reasons why you should go ahead and pick up an instrument. That includes your voice. I went back to this book, and if you ever worked on a graduate program, you probably know this man, Bennett Reamer. When I was in my PhD program, it was a Bennett Reamer versus David Elliott argument. But when we were going over this book, one thing I noticed in these notes from about 6 or 7 years ago, it says good musicianship should be demonstrated. How do you demonstrate good musicianship if you're not practicing it? And good musicianship does not mean that you can play the all-state scales at 200 beats a minute. Good musicianship involves the practice ethic, the work ethic, and the emotional ethic. So my note and my comment to you is pick up an instrument. I have my flute, and my embouchure is pretty well shot. So I've had to pretty well start over, but that's okay. Or pick up something that you've never played before. If you've taught your kids 3 chords in the ukulele, you've got this time to learn a few more chords. Pick up the families of recorders. There are Facebook groups where people are sharing their music, and if you send me a message, I'll be glad to let you know what some of those are. Develop your singing voice. Other ways, join a community choir, even if you're a band person. It's okay. If you're a choir person, you can still bring out an instrument. And if you're a band person, it's okay to be a choir person or orchestra person. Get a guitar and teach yourself guitar. You're not in competition. This is for your soul. And seek out others and play along with them. And get back to remembering what it was like to be with the group, and to just music, which is a verb. Because right now, in these times, we need to do as much as we can to feed our souls. You're separated from your students. You're hard at work. Coming up with less, you miss your students. You might be a little bit anxious. We don't know what's happening. Crawl into that quiet space, shut a door, and bring out your music and find your inner musician. Thanks for listening.